All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the virtual film room. Today we're going to be talking about the even front theory, the modern even front theory per se, specifically out of nickel because a lot of the NFL is out of nickel and 11 personnel these days. So, we're going to talk about how things have changed from more traditional base defense to more fluid hybrid fronts using five defensive backs. Today, we're mostly going to look at Penny, which is a 5-1-5, labeled as a 3-3-5 in the game. And we're going to be looking at Nickel, which is just simple nickel 4-2-5, labeled as a 2-4-5 in this game because of the stand-up edges, obviously. They label it as linebackers. And the three coaches we're going to focus on specifically are Vic Fangio, Brandon Staley, and one of my favorites, Raheem Morris. Because they're all, I'd say, masterminds, if you want to put it that way, of guys who really lived up to the philosophy of stopping the run with six. Because traditionally, you want to be gapped out. But what they did is they took two gap defenses and they took one gap defense, kind of just threw it together, amalgamation of techniques, and created this gap and a half style defense coined by Brandon Staley. And they just learned how to rock out with it. Rams got a Super Bowl out of it. Eagles got a Super Bowl out of it. So we see it works. We see it works at the highest level. If you draft right, you apply the correct players. But the problem with it is that you're technically playing defense or playing the run with one less body. You're not even out. You're minus one in the box. And that mathematically doesn't make sense, but if you have enough guys winning their battles, doing their jobs, it works out. And the parallel of that is the two LA teams. When Staley was in LA prior to Raheem, he had Aaron Donald. That's almost a guaranteed win on any block. So that helped out with keeping things sound in the run game. But when he went to LA, especially when that game he called the defense, he's calling an Aaron Donald defense where he does a job of a million dudes at once with a team without Aaron Donald. Sure, they had Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, but those aren't Aaron Donalds. And they're not playing inside. They're not playing his role. So you can't get that kind of production from the defense without a certain level of play from all the positions inside. And the best example of that would be the Eagles this year, with Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and Jalen Carter. Had to sound that out. Jalen Carter. Those three monsters of defensive tackles rotating in there. And the edges of Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith, a little bit of just retired. A little bit of Brandon Graham, the big body, the true defensive end right there. All had those guys standing up and really pushing the pocket in the run game in the past. And at linebacker, they supplemented many guys, but the key trait they were looking for is guys that can hit the angles in the blitz game, pass rush, and cover it with proficiency. And what made that better is that they had Vic Fangio, who in my opinion is one of the best linebacker coaches and my favorite coach personally when it comes to football. And having all that together and bringing in Zach Bond, who is a hybrid edge rusher linebacker and playing him purely off ball, is what helped build that defense to be what it is. Obviously, there are other things like the addition to DeJean halfway through. No, it's not halfway. About week 5, week 6, when they were in a bit of a rut per se. Adding him definitely helped with the pass game and the run game. But the main focus is how they're playing defense, and I believe the Falcons are going to do the same thing with newly drafted Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. with veteran Leonard Floyd, who was on that Super Bowl Rams team as a starter. I believe he's going to be there. He's going to have a lot of words for those guys, a lot of tutelage, a lot of knowledge for them, and I think it'll work out just fine. So let's get into it. But firstly, I want to talk about what an even front is. An even front is basically any defensive front where one B gap is open. So you're thinking of an over front and under front mostly. Those are really the main fronts. Maybe a deuce front too, but that's a bit more advanced. So let's stick to the over and under fronts. In a traditional over front, you have two edges playing outside the tackles at least, either in a 5, 6 eye, 6, wide 9, and you have a 3 technique. Sometimes a 4 eye in pass situations, but normally it's a 3 technique. And with the traditional nose, you could say, you have a 1 technique, you could have a shade, you could have a 2 eye. It just depends. So with this, the goal, I want to say the goal of even front. A lot of teams with even fronts, they try to funnel the ball to the open bubble, which in this case is the B gap. The open bubble is just a gap that's uncovered, and we don't consider A gaps as bubbles because it's the center of the defense, and somebody's gonna fill that gap regardless because that's where everybody's eyes are first. But the B gap, that counts as a bubble if it's left open. So they're trying to funnel everything to the B gap so linebackers and safeties can just scrape and meet the ball carrier there. The strength of that is predictability per se, which can also be a weakness. Because if you ask an offensive coordinator to draw up their favorite play, they're probably going to draw it up against an even front, probably an over or under front. But I'd say another weakness is that you're still leaving the interior open. And when you're not gapped out in the run, a lot of the times you need to have those interior gaps covered because, I mean, if you're going to leave it open, they're just going to attack it all day, and you don't really have the bodies with 5 DBs out there. You got 6 dudes dedicated to the run, maybe a 7th if you have a safety there at nickel, but even then, he's still playing pass first, especially with these wide sets and these speedy slot receivers. So you're really trying to beat math with this one. And let's take a pause here. Let's see what's next. Okay, here we go. Let's restart again once this play ends. Alright, so with the more modern even front with a gap and a half defense, which we're gonna try to bring to Madden, you have the 2 eye, you have the 3, you have these stand up edges. I don't know why Jahad Campbell's there. We're gonna change that real quick. That's a big old no. Uh-oh. Why we got the rookie playing edge? Who do you want to play edge for this example? High block shed guys, I guess. Oh wow. Aziz Ojulari. I mean, I could Akbo. Let's just put Ojulari there for the sake of it. And sub linebacker. My trail's right there. Alright, there we go. As I was saying, you have your stand up. Well, we gotta let this play run out so you could get the switches. Alright, your stand up edges, your 3, 2 eye, stand up edge, your Mac, and your money, which is just, in layman's terms, it's just what you call your Mike and Will when it's in a sub package. You call them different things to denote the difference in the positions. And the idea with this modified overfront with the 2 eye instead, which is also known as the over G or under G in some. If I shift it over this way, it becomes an under G front. But in the original way, it's an over G front. And what's great about that is you can stack the guards, and it forces the center to really dictate where the play is going. So let's say if it's a true inside zone, the center is gonna have to try to force the 2 eye off his neck and climb to the linebacker while they have a receiver trying to block the other linebacker. That's not really a great idea. And the way these D tackles are playing it, they're not trying to penetrate as you would in a one gap system. But they're also not just sitting in the water waiting for somebody to come to them like in a two gap. They're getting pop, but they're reading. And that's what you're going to try to replicate here. Now, if you just let it run out here, default, no changes. Yep, right here. I mean, I didn't even touch anything, and you saw just the effect of the user's presence just slowed the double team down. The goal for the defensive tackles is to control the guards and essentially free up the linebackers in a way, depending if it's a base defense, no blitz, no nothing, and give time for the third level players to come in. Because in a defense like this, a lot of it's based out of a quarters pre-snap look. Maybe the coverages aren't quarters because Raheem Morris loves cover 3, but you're gonna get late fits from the slot, DeJean over here, and from the safety over here. So you have 8, but it's more of a two halves of a player because of how late they're gonna come. They're gonna play the run first. If they get a bubble, they're gonna play that, then trickle their way to the box. So you really do need to stop run with 6. And in this case, you technically have the numbers too, because you really have 6 dudes for 5 blockers. You can make it 6 with the read option, but nobody's worried about a read option from Jared Goff, of course. You can also make it 6 if you motion this receiver into an insert motion and try to come in and block one of the linebackers or maybe even an edge if they're a dog like that. But we're gonna take it to more of a true 11 personnel look, so we can really show you what the numbers look like. All right, here we are. This is also an over G front. We're set to the tight end, so the strength is 2. The offense is right, defense is left. Nolan Smith over here, he's to the strength. And as you can see, he's playing the tight end, playing the guard, playing the guard, playing the guard. And what's great about these fronts is that you can change the spacing. That's one of the first things that were, I wouldn't say discovered, but played with. And all spacing is, I'm going to have a diagram up, but all spacing is what gaps are covered. Pre-snap and right as the ball is snapped. If I bring him here and shift the D line, that's the linebackers, shift the D line, this is odd spacing because both B gaps are covered. Open it up, even spacing again because the B gaps are covered. Now let's say up here, as soon as the ball snapped, he runs down and fills this gap, it becomes odd spacing. They're creating odd spacing out of even looks. That's essentially what it is, disguised. You don't know what the defense is doing, and you're creating confusion. You have fluidity because all these guys are hybrids. All these guys can play multiple roles at once, so having someone play outside the traditional role isn't such a negative. We have a pause there. Let's look at the next. Alright, here we go. Back when this one goes, you can run it here. And to fit against inside zone, what you're gonna want is you're gonna want these guys to really play gap and a half. You don't want them to just shoot up field. Like, you want them to win, but you don't want them to shoot up field. And with D tackles to this caliber, when it comes to the run game, I think you can get away with not having the numbers because I have 6 guys. You shouldn't technically be able to beat this, but if you have enough guys win and do their jobs, then that works. So we're gonna let this play out, and I'm gonna show you what I want to say reads are, but I'm gonna show you what should happen when the ball's run here. Oh, you got a good example there. Run was stopped. All right, we're gonna go from right to left. You have Nolan Smith here who's playing edge. He's containing the run. He's not letting anything go outside of him. A lot of times, especially if the tight end's trying to reach, they're going to long arm and try to really set the edge, make sure they can't run outside, then flow back inside if they're able. And that kind of covers his role in a base set. It's pretty simple when the run's inside because it doesn't pertain to him. All he's doing is containing. Here we have Jalen Carter going up against Panea, and I have 0-60. Ooh, I'm not good with my numbers today. But he's gonna. Whoa, that's flying around a bit. He's taking on a double team here, and what he's doing is taking it off. It's kind of hard to show because Madden is very animation based. It's not very fluid with the animations. They added more, but it's not as clean as you think. But essentially, he's trying to take the double team on as long as he can. Try to free up. This is Jihad Campbell right here. Try to free up Jihad as much as he can. Because if he can get close to the line of scrimmage without being untouched, he can force the running back a certain way. And what happened here is that Jalen shed once the double team left because they felt like it was secured. He shed and met the running back. The other guy that met the running back is Zach Bond, but we'll get to him in a second. Jordan Davis is playing the 2-eye, which is what he did in college a lot. He was very good at it. He took the double team for as long as possible and forced the center to come off. Well, it didn't force the center to come off. Bond forced the center to come off. Davis forced the center to stay on, and he left before the block was secured. So now he's closing two gaps on his own. Because if the running back were to try to last second bounce, he has his eyes on him. He can shed this way and can take the B gap as well. And the safety's coming in late to take the B gap as well. Now, as for the edge, same thing as before. In real life, a lot of times they're going to have the backside edge take the running back in read options to have this linebacker, Zach Ball in this case, take the quarterback, or maybe a safety do it in certain formations or checks. But in Madden, it's not the most accurate, so we're going to leave it as is. Now, as for the linebackers, in a single gap, even in a single gap, they don't really have a singular gap. They're going to read and hit the right gap. But in this case, this is kind of amplified. They're going to play A to C, basically. So they're going to take their A gap. He's playing the A gap here. He's going to read. Now, this run is trying to hit the A gap, so he's going to take it in. But first, he's going to stack his anchor point. He stacked for a quick second, obviously, because he saw the run. And he shot. Now, normally, if they were trying to, let's say the running back was over here and the blocking was still to the right and they're trying to force him this way, that would count as a fallback or a belly key, and he would fill this fast because that means the run is probably going to cut back really hard because the gap was closed. That's not really the best way to explain it, but I'm trying my best here. I will link every kind of terminology, every kind of word, every kind of anything that's more in depth than football 101. I'll probably link below or have a short little definition posted. But essentially, everyone's here playing A to C. He's not really reading who his eyes are in the animation. He's kind of removed from the A gap. He's still reading, but he's playing outside, and he also has more of a coverage read than 53. Because he still has a tight end over here. Safety has him. He's helping. But he still has to read the RPO. He gets there. He walls off the gap that he thinks is coming to. And he forces the running back to cut. Which is his job. Running back was trying to hit this open C gap. Gets closed real fast. Plays good technique too. Has the off arm open. Ready to make a tackle. And the edge sheds as well. Everyone comes in. Collects the running back. That's how inside zone should be played from a 6-man, sort of. Now, what else is in this package? We're going to see first before we try to call anything else. There's draw. Alright. Look for anything else. I'm trying to look for tight end sets. I have a tight end attached. Oh, here we go. Stretch. There's trap. Well, having trap here brings up an important piece. The biggest weakness, in my opinion, of trying to play gap and a half defense is man blocking. Now, gap and a half defense is so strong because a lot of teams are playing out of the gun. Not saying it's too much, but a lot of teams are playing lighter and they're playing out of the gun. They're trying to run the ball, and there's only so much you can do out of the gun and have it still be effective. Because outside zone is wonky, power can be wonky, counters kind of weird. I mean, it works well. Counter trade when it works amazing. But when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And man blocking is hard out of gun too, unless it's pistol. Excuse me. So when you have man blocking, everyone here has a man. Everyone here has a rule. It's not zone. Nobody step into a zone, and that creates a problem because they're even. One, two, three, four, five, six. And you look at the offense, 5 O linemen and a tight end. Normally that creates a lot of conflict, and we're going to see it play out here. The AI running back didn't make the greatest read, but there was a wide open gap in front of him. And what this did, it let the 3 tech come upfield, and it trapped him. Now, he did play it well. He didn't fly too far upfield, and he forced the blocker back, but he was kind of slow with it, and he couldn't make a tackle because he was still stuck trying to free himself. The nose gets washed for a second, that holds his ground. The linebacker just takes on the block. He doesn't really get past it. Same with the other linebacker. And what's hard about this is because in gun you're expecting zone a lot, and the timing for zone, to quote Brett Coleman, obviously, it's read, then cut. But with man blocking, it's read, oh crap, he's on me, then there's nothing you can do. And a lot of times running back or user's gonna cut that up, go in, and probably meet the safety. If you can make him miss, that's a touchdown right there. So we're gonna see it play again. See what happens, because you don't just want one in the sample size. Yeah, he tried to cut it up again. Guard got in the way, so we're gonna look at it again, and we're gonna see the weakness. There we go. He makes a lot of cuts. Oh wow, he's doing a lot there. The AI is, and essentially, you don't want to get stuck in man block. You play a man blocking team. A great way to counter that, and a great way to counter man blocking anyway, is sitting second level pressure and moving dudes after the snap. So I'm going to show you that here. All right, here we go. This is a sim pressure. Simulated pressure just means you're going to send 4, but it's not going to be the 4 you think it's going to be. It's going to look like a blitz, and you're simulating a blitz because he's going to come, pause, but you have your edge dropping. And in the run game, the edge isn't actually going to drop out the run game. He's still going to play his gap and everything. So against man block, he's not blitzing to the side, so it may not work as well, but he's still going to come. So let's see what happens. Yeah, it didn't work as well as we thought, so we're going to flip it and try it again. So we can really get an example. He's going to blitz to the side of the run, and it should mess up the blocking rules because he's moving. And man blocking requires a lot of static looks. See? Yeah, muddied up the read. Yep. At least for the running back, muddied up the read. What he's trying to do is get 58. 58's man is, I don't know Bond's number, 53. Yep, 58's man is 53. 60's man is 98. 69's man is 90. 73 needs to climb up to, he's supposed to be taking 98 here, but he can't because the blitzer changed the rules of the run. So now he has to take the edge, and he does take the edge, but the edge is trying to box the run. Well, no, it looks like, is he spilling? Nope, he's boxing here. He's boxing here. He's trying to force the run back inside, while there's a blitzer right there just causing havoc with the tight end, who's in 30's a great run stuffer there. So, I mean, you're really forcing people back to your teammates instead of into the open hole. And the slot was there, who normally be the high safety here. Normally the high safety would be playing this. He'd step up and come in and fill. Slot did the same thing. So just pretend that's the deep safety coming from death here, collecting the running back. But essentially, what happened? Your goal is to money the read for the offense. You're just trying to money the read. I think we have more simulated pressures from this playbook. I can't be sure. I can't promise that. We do have some slot sim pressures, but that's a bit more advanced. So what we can do is we can look at true odd spacing. I hope we have some in this playbook. I'm looking for a mint front. In this game, it's called 3-3 odd, but I don't think we have it. So we can look at it after we look at penny. Penny's great because you can simulate a 3-4 look out of nickel. You can simulate a lot actually. And what you need here is you need hybrids. You need an edge that can cover. I don't want to say you need a fast D tackle, but you need a more limber one. You need a true nose here, maybe a bit of pass rush upside because it's a sub package. Same thing here, and a hybrid. Well, not same thing, not the same nose. The more limber, better pass rusher defensive tackle. So you got 3 DTs normally, maybe a tweener edge. Then you got your 2 hybrids and a true linebacker here. You got Dean here, who's very good at scraping. Fast, did it in college, he's great at it. And what this does also is, well, one, odd spacing pre-snap forces the offense to show their cards because inside gaps are muddy. But also, it leaves because it's running the play right now, so we're gonna wait to continue. In gun, a lot of teams aren't gonna be coming out in 3 tight end sets in gun. Like maybe they'll have a play or 2 a game, but they're not going out entire series with 3 tight ends out of gun because it's just not what tight ends do. They're not the best pass catchers compared to receivers. So you're really getting 5-on-6 with the line of scrimmage, maybe 5-on-5. Sometimes you get a 7-on-5, but even then, still got numbers because that means the safety and corner will be in the fit normally. So here, what you're getting is a muddied read and somebody who's a lot of time going to come free because he's taking up bodies. It's a big nose tackle. He's going to take up bodies. He's not a terrible run defender. He's definitely taking up bodies. It's Jalen Carter. And the edges are just forcing everything back inside. Well, at least they should be. Sometimes there's spill if it's a down block, but that's getting a bit advanced. But my point here is that you're trying to muddy everything up. You're not trying to win your one-on-ones specifically. As I kind of said that earlier. If I didn't want that to be implied that you're just trying to win one-on-ones, as many one-on-ones as possible. You're really just trying to muddy things up and create confusion because you're not going to win one-on-ones every time. At the highest level or the lowest level, Madden, real life, anything, you're never going to win those one-on-ones 100% of the time. So what you need to do is muddy the read. If you let them build a routine with running something against a look, then they're just going to keep doing it. There's nothing to stop them. But if you muddy things up, you have people come free, you have people stop things. That's essentially the goal here. We will get into the weaknesses and strengths, more weaknesses and strengths of each of the fronts at a later date. But I just wanted to introduce the topic and provide some tools for you guys to look on your own. Next thing I do will probably revolve around the weaknesses and upsides, as I said. A lot of it has to do with pass rush because you are dealing with sub-package players. So pass rush either has to be good or bad. Well, I wouldn't say pass rush has to be good or bad. The pass rush has to matter in fronts. And the strength of the even front is that constant pass rush. Constant pressure on the tackles. Two dudes inside to constantly push the pocket, traditionally. A little bit of stunt magic in there, but with 3 down sets, a lot of odd fronts. Unless you're sending 5 every time, like in this Saw Blitz 3, you're gonna have 4 dudes coming, pause. And when it's just 4, it's this tackle isn't pressured over here, 58 isn't pressured, and you a lot of times you're gonna have a bigger body trying to play a cop technique, which is just contained from the B gap. I said a contain here actually to try to show it what it'll look like in real life. He'll try to wrap around, and that just weakens the edge rush because you only have one good edge rusher. I don't say one good edge rusher. You have one body rushing the edge, and he's doing it from an inside gap, so he's gonna have to run around. So let's say even if he does win, it's gonna take him longer to win. He's coming from inside, but that's diving into another topic, and we're gonna discuss it at a later date. This I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you listening to this yap. I'm gonna do my best to try to cut it down and keep things concise. If you have any questions, recommendations, or anything that needs to be clarified, please let me know personally or in the comments below. And I will see you guys next time.